Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from OSCON 2016 in Austin, Texas. I'm here with Ian Varley. Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Mike?
Good. So you're a sales architect, or no, Salesforce architect?
I'm a Salesforce architect, right? I work at Salesforce, and I work on the architecture of the core platform.
So what is Salesforce and open source? It's kind of an interesting...
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Not too many people think open source when they think about Salesforce. You think CRM, obviously, because Salesforce is a leader in the market, but it's a bit of a misperception, though, because Salesforce is actually really involved in open source. We have a ton of projects we contribute to, and a ton of projects we've created. You just talked to the folks from Heroku, and that's part of Salesforce as well, and they have a ton of open source involvement. So really, Salesforce is very bullish on open source, and we use a lot of it, and we contribute to a lot of it.
And do you make it easy for developers to contribute back into you? How does that work?
Yeah, we do our best. So one of the confusing things about open source at Salesforce a little bit is that there's really kind of two segments. I talk about it like above the waterline and below the waterline. Above the waterline, you have things that our customers use and care about. Things like, for example, we have a project called the Nonprofit Starter Pack. The nonprofits who use Salesforce can use this thing to kind of jumpstart and get a better start at
managing their
constituency and donations and all that stuff, right? Yeah. That's an open source package. And so not only can they use that, they can actually look at the source code, contribute to it, and we make it as easy as we can for them to contribute that code back and fold that back into the product. So that's some of the stuff that runs on the platform, but then obviously the platform itself is powered by open source as well. So we have tons of projects that we use and contribute to, including HBase and Kafka and things like that, that aren't so much things that our customers would care about, knowing that we're involved in, but other, engineers throughout the industry are who we're collaborating with on that stuff.
So I guess Salesforce has a dual, I don't want to say personality.
Yeah, that's a fair way to say it.
Kind of motive or whatever here.
Right.
You've got the customer, the people using the tool, and then you've got the engineers who have to typically deploy it.
Yeah, and really, ultimately, in both of those cases, the person we're doing this for is the customer, right? Whether it's direct transparency for them or whether it's the thing that powers the platform that they use, everything we do, we're thinking about the customer from the start to the end. When it comes to actually, contributing and using open source at Salesforce, I guess the main motivation that we have there really is that open source software is better software. That's just, I don't think there's a better way to put it, right? Open source software is higher quality, it's higher security, and has so many benefits. And so while obviously it's not the only thing that we do, we use proprietary software, we write our own software, but wherever possible, when we can contribute to software that is open source, or create projects ourselves that are open source and release them, that's our preference because it has so many benefits.
So in a way, it almost sounds like Salesforce is more than sales. The part of it's something bigger than
it is.
It's like we probably need a better description of Salesforce. Than
I think that ship has sailed. The company name is a big thing there, right?
Yeah,
but you're absolutely right. It's a whole platform, right? It's the word they use for it is the customer success platform. It's what we enable our customers to be better at working with their customers. So everything that we work with up the entire stack, whether it's marketing, sales, service, all that kind of stuff, it's ultimately in service of that, right? So everything that we're doing in our interactions, both on the platform and powering the platform, is really trying to make sure we have just rock solid availability, durability, uptime, and ease of use, right? And so when you look at some of the projects that we have, things like our mobile SDK, right? All of the mobile apps that you can build as a Salesforce customer, we have an SDK for that, and that's all open source as well, right? So they can actually look into that. They can dig in and see how does this SDK work, and if they find a bug, they can contribute a fix back and send us a pull request and make it better.
One thing that caught my attention when you said about the nonprofits.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So they can actually use your SDK and modify what you've deployed for them.
Yep.
And you're taking their domain knowledge back in.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's kind of an open source process.
It's incredible, actually. Yeah. I was recently at so we have these things called community sprints with this nonprofit starter pack, and that's where a bunch of users of the nonprofit starter pack get together in a room for a whole day and basically have a hackathon where they fix bugs and make contributions to make the nonprofit starter pack better. So we did one a few weeks ago in San Francisco, and it was amazing. It was like a love-in. Like everybody was there, and these are all people who are working for nonprofits, so they really care a lot about what they're doing, and they use Salesforce every single day in every interaction. So when they can say that little thing that annoyed me in Salesforce in the nonprofit starter pack, I can fix that. that's like huge for them. Like that's super important and really empowering for them.
Do you see that ripple back down through the platform itself?
Oh, absolutely. And when we, every community project that we work on and get involved with has exactly these same kind of great benefits. A great one is HBase. So HBase is a database that runs in the Hadoop ecosystem, and we've been using it for several years, and we have contributed hundreds of patches to HBase, and we have committers on staff who are full-fledged committers in the HBase project and full-time Salesforce employees. And the interactions that has engendered in terms of the way that we've sort of both used and contributed to and also steered the course of this project over the years, I mean, when you compare that to some of the proprietary software that we work with, where it's a much more hands-off, vendor-dependent kind of relationship, having that open source relationship it's fun and it's really empowering and I don't know how else to say it. It just makes everybody happy. There's a big warm fuzzy about it.
So in the next, let's say, 12 months, your role at Salesforce, what would you like to see happen, especially around open source?
Oh,
at
yeah.
Salesforce?
So one of the things, Salesforce is not a startup company anymore. It was, right? But obviously it's a big company now. And one of the things that you realize as you kind of mature and graduate to levels of being a bigger and bigger company is things that seemed easy at first start to get a little tricky, right? Because you are more constrained. We're a public company, we're regulated, and so we can't just be super willy-nilly about whatever. We have to think about licensing, intellectual property, security, and so there's all of these things that tend to, if left unchecked, slow down contribution to open source, right? Slow it down to a crawl sometimes. And we've had very frustrated engineers who say, look, I'm just trying to open source my thing, why is it taking so long? So what we've been working on over the last year is really kind of taking those blockers head on and saying, like, what is going on with these blockers? Why is this so hard? Why is that so hard? And in the process, we've befriended our legal team and really tried to understand their perspective, like what parts of this are risks to you that you care about that we can help you with. And they're actually all here at OSCON. Our legal team came with us.
Excellent.
And so actually today at 4, we're giving a talk, the co-leader of the open source team and myself, Regina Berkbeil, are giving a talk this afternoon called Knocking Down Blockers. And this talk is basically about, like, how do you take on these difficulties that come with being a grown-up company, right? And face them and resolve them or mitigate them. So that's what we're hoping to make a ton of progress in that. We're joining forces with a bunch of other companies who face similar things. There's a group called the To Do Group that you might have heard of, and we're announcing this week that we're joining the To Do Group, and we're going to try to contribute a bunch of effort there to that group to just sort of make this better for everybody, right? The things that are blockers, we can resolve those as an industry.
Excellent. Well, Ian, we look forward to joining you on that journey of knocking down blockers.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks.